this already passed. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm so happy to offer this smart tourism conference to all over the world from Gyeonggi campus. About 20 years ago, Thomas Friedman, he wrote a book entitled The World is Flat. Actually, 20 years later, due to the Zoom or online platform and YouTube platform, we realized the world is flat. All of the world at the same time, different zones joined this kind of event together. Today, I invite in very well-known professor and my cross of friends, Ulrike Gretzel. She is now a senior research fellow at the University of Southern California, Annenberg Center for Public Relations. She and I, Professor Namo Jung, together, we are co-editor of Journal of Smart Tourism together, which launched 3 years ago, 2001. It's a world famous journal, will be someday. because the well-known professor Ulrike Gretzel. She has wonderful career path. She was a professor, University of Queensland Business School, University of Queensland, Australia. And also she was associate professor of marketing, University of Wollongong, Australia. And also she was an associate professor of tourism, Texas A&M University, USA, which is the top tourism school in the world. Once again, she is a co-editor-in-chief of Journal of Smart Tourism, the journal title which is a very profound and deep impact to our tourism society. She holds her PhD in the communication from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, master degree in international business from the Vienna University of Economics and Business. Her main focus research area is persuasion in human and technology interaction. Look at the table and record how she was hard work in her entire life. Her citation number over 30,000. Wow, it's the top of the top. And look at 2010. She has been research regarding role of technology, social media, smart tourism, foundation and development, use and impact of online travel reviews, and conceptual foundation of understanding of smart tourism ecosystem. Those papers actually is very impactful and leading tourism society and hospitality society. So that's why I'm inviting her for our World Conference on Smart Tourism, the first conference. Next slide, please. Before we starting, I want to show more the slide. Can you do this? Okay. Look at these papers. She and I worked together for smart tourism. Actually, she was a real pioneering on this field, smart tourism foundation and development. Now, site is over 2,000. And also, she paved the way to smart tourism ecosystem, artificial intelligence and robot, and AI, which is now the top hot issue in our field and other disciplines together. Next. And also, she published Smart Tourism Challenge with me, application of a smart tourism to a city with me, smart tourism city with me. I don't invite her because of a personal relationship, but because of her objective publication and achievement. Okay. So now please welcome Professor Ulrike Gretzel. Are you ready? From Los Angeles. Hello. Good evening.
Hello, everyone.
Okay. Please teach us, lecture us, guide us about smart tourism. You're the number one. You know that. I agree. Start.
Great. I will try my best. I'm going to share my slides. Great. I can only see myself, but I'm assuming, oh yeah, here we go. So you can see my slides. First of all, congratulations to the Smart Tourism Research Center for this anniversary. Congratulations also for putting this conference together. I think it's a very important event, and I am convinced there will be a lot of interesting ideas and discussions emerging from today's presentations. So thank you for having me. It is wonderful for me to be able to look back a little bit at this past of smart tourism research. Also look back at the pandemic and kind of thinking about the past and how smart tourism kind of played a role, but also continues to play a role. And hopefully I will be able to convince you to agree with me that I think smart tourism should play an even bigger role in shaping the tourism industry. And so the goal of my talk today is to share with you some of the fundamentals of my understanding of smart tourism, but then also to introduce you to some of the new ideas that I've been exploring and some of the things that I think are important to discuss. So I'm going to dive in with you into the topic, and please reach out to me if you do have a question about this presentation. All right. So what happened? What happened during the pandemic? It put a pause button really in front of us, and whether you were in the industry or an academic, it kind of gave us an opportunity to think about tourism and the tourism industry, and kind of trying to understand what was happening, but also trying to understand what could be done to maybe curb the negative effects of this. But then also there was this incredible opportunity for hope and for kind of thinking about a new way of structuring tourism, or maybe even a better way of developing tourism in the world. So on the academic side, in the research community, together with my colleagues at CHIT, the Journal of Information Technology in Travel and Tourism, we actually sat down and we thought about possible paradigm shifts that we could finally engage in. And so we reflected on the growth paradigm and maybe how that is not a sustainable paradigm for this industry. We also reflected on technology, the role it plays in this context, but also technologies or our understanding of technologies and how we think about technology, how we use technology, how do we develop technology, as well as then the science part. So the scientific paradigms that we have been operating with and within. And so if you're interested, we summarized our thoughts in a paper called E-Tourism Beyond COVID-19. And we were really hoping that this would be used as an opportunity to engage in more transformative research. So really making a difference in the world through our tourism and technology related research. But it was not only the academic community that kind of sat back and reflected. It also provided an opportunity for a lot of tourists and especially residents, people who live in tourism communities, to sit back and reflect. And the newspapers and social media reports were full of images and comments about how great it was to actually maybe not have tourism for a little bit. And you see here a picture of goats kind of taking over a touristic town in Wales. And a lot of residents kind of were able to finally breathe again and appreciate the place where they lived. Whereas on the tourist side, there was definitely a lot of anxiety, a lot of pent-up demand, and a lot of, I guess, hope that tourism would come back as soon as possible. So we had a big conflict there between those actually who were engaging in tourism and those who were receiving the tourists. Usually in their places of residence. So there was a lot of opportunity. Unfortunately, I have to say, not all of these opportunities materialized. And then I would like to start my talk with this understanding of what has actually happened. So post-pandemic tourism snapped back to what tourism was like, maybe even worse in some places. I don't know if you have flown recently, but the planes are full. There might even be less offerings, right? The one thing that has changed to a positive from my perspective is the use of technology. So the pandemic was a huge push towards digitalization, and we even have smaller establishments now in the tourism industry use technologies. They have mobile apps now. They have mobile opportunities to engage in the experience. Some of them played with virtual experiences. So in terms of digitalization, post-pandemic tourism really took advantage of the technologies that became common during the pandemic. And there's also a greater share of tourists who are now using technologies. Even older tourists, like my parents, now use their smartphones more when they travel. They're used to using apps. They're used to doing paperless check-ins. And so digitalization, I think, is one of the things that has come out of the pandemic as particularly strong. Now, in terms of innovation, I wouldn't say that there was a lot of really fundamental change in the industry. So people tried to kind of survive, and they were innovative in some ways. But in terms of the level of innovation overall in the industry, it kind of was pretty stable throughout this pandemic and continues in the post-pandemic tourism phase. Now, in terms of resilience, unfortunately, I don't think we have learned very much as an industry. There is not more sustainability. We saw this year especially that a lot of destinations are struggling with climate change. There's a lot of anti-tourism sentiment again. There's also huge labor shortages, and the technology has not been able to make up for the labor demand that we see in the industry. We are dealing with wars. We're dealing with a lot of political, economic, as well as social changes that are really continuing to challenge the tourism industry. So I would actually say that resilience has gone down in some ways. So we have not emerged as an industry that is more resilient than before. Now, what does this mean for smart tourism? So the significance for me, from my perspective, for smart tourism is that it really offers an opportunity for change. And it does that because it actually offers a mindset that is different from the regular tourism kind of mindset. So a smart tourism mindset is really focused on innovation, is focused on creativity, is focused on participatory ways of engaging in tourism, and it really has that strong sustainability focus there as well. Smart tourism is also important because it offers new models of governance. A lot of what we do in tourism, we not only have an industry, but that industry is very much connected with and reliant on government policies, government funding, but also government regulations. And so understanding how we could maybe change the way we govern tourism, and especially also bring in the residents into this kind of model, I think is really what smart tourism offers. Smart tourism has also been connected to resilience, and so its resilience emerges from the more responsible management paradigm that it promotes, and also the innovation that comes from smart tourism initiatives. Last but not least, I think smart tourism also has a huge potential to change the tourism industry because there is greater focus on value and there is greater focus on experience enrichment. So ultimately, we're thinking about a better way of offering experiences, and also maybe rethinking the types of experiences that should be available, that should be offered by the tourism industry. So a lot of opportunity, a lot of promise that as academics we have been researching and talking about for the past 10 years. As an industry, there's still a lot of room for improvement. A lot of the industry has focused more on the digitalization dimension of smart tourism and not so much on the other components. So tourism, smart tourism really has 4 pillars. And so I would like to remind ourselves about the fundamentals of smart tourism. So you heard from Professor Koo that we talked about these pillars and these opportunities in this fundamental paper on smart tourism. But I think it doesn't hurt to repeat them here because I still see a lot of research as well as industry work that is only focused on the technology aspect and not so much on the rest. And even in terms of the technology aspect, it's not just about building another app or introducing another virtual experience opportunity. Smart tourism technology is really about connectivity. The smartness comes from the analytics that are behind smart tourism. There's also this notion of real-time monitoring and connecting the physical and the digital. So these digital experiences become very important for smart tourism. There is also this thinking about connecting tourism with other industries, and so mobile payment, for example, is one of the ways in which smart tourism branches out into the digital ecosystem, business ecosystem, and connects with players that are maybe not traditionally recognized as part of the tourism industry. And related to that is also blockchain technology, cryptocurrencies, but also digital ledgers, and all the opportunities that blockchains can really offer us as an industry. So for this technology pillar, I would really like us to think about technology more broadly, beyond the, I think, very isolated touristic opportunities that have been realized by the industry. So a lot of this technology also has to be implemented at a destination level, which requires coordination among tourism industry players. And so there is a lot more to technology in the smart tourism context than just adopting a single device or a single technology opportunity. The second pillar is sustainability, and it really comes right after technology, and it's connected to technology as well, because a lot of this technology allows us to rethink the way we use resources, and also it helps us conserve resources as well. So whether that is energy conservation or thinking about different modes of transportation in a destination, but also more generally, can we think about how technology can also help us, for example, with tourism taxation? So how can we extract value from this activity that benefits the society that actually puts on tourism? Sustainable events, lots of opportunities for tracking, for waste management, and Korea has been really, really forward thinking in this respect. And then also this huge area of heritage preservation, making heritage more accessible, maybe also capturing marginalized voices that we usually do not see represented in traditional heritage offerings. The third pillar is accessibility and mobility. And on one hand, that means very concretely the movements of tourists, the tourist flows at a destination, and how we can better manage them. But it also means a greater accessibility of tourism to groups of travelers that maybe were excluded from tourism before. And then last but not least, it also means accessibility of information. And so this open data movement is a very strong component of smart tourism. The fourth pillar kind of ties all of this together, and it is about developing skills and developing knowledge, but also fostering creativity at a destination, bringing people together, bringing companies together, bringing opportunities together. And so we are talking about ways in which smart tourism fosters this. And so the living labs is one example that has been explored a lot in the smart tourism context. So from my perspective, the way in which smart tourism can really shape the tourism industry in this near future is by bringing technology and governance together to really focus on sustainability, but focus on sustainability in a broader sense. So not just environmental sustainability, but also sustainability in terms of protecting different species, protecting heritage, but also bringing in marginalized groups, thinking about well-being and health, and also thinking about communities. And in this context, we really have to ask ourselves, smart tourism for whom and for what purpose? So when we develop smart tourism, it really needs to have this responsibility agenda in there where we constantly question and invite people to contribute to our understanding of how technology and governance can maybe build a better touristic future for a destination. So I've thought about this for quite a while, and so this now is 2 years old, this paper. We really need to think about outcomes, right? What is the output, and really who decides what is a desired output in smart tourism? And so we have, from the tourism industry perspective, of course, productivity and innovation and competitiveness, and that has been a focus for a long time. But I think we also need to add the livability and well-being components, the sustainability and accessibility, as well as the governance and kind of forward-thinking planning aspects of tourism. And we do that, we realize these outputs by using technology, but also by creating different kinds of communities and by putting policies in place that really help us guide our activities. Now, one of the things that Professor Koo and I have been working on for quite a bit is really this notion of smart tourism as not being disconnected from the rest of the world or the rest of the place or the rest of the government or the rest of the industries. And so one of the important things about the future of smart tourism, I think, is to really think about this connection between smart tourism efforts as well as broader smart development efforts. So whether that is in the context of smart cities or smart regions and Industry 4.0, tourism, unfortunately, has been kind of isolated in many ways from the discussion, and tourism is not often invited to the table. On the other hand, a lot of activities and initiatives in smart tourism have really not thought about residents. So one of the examples I would like to give here is we did some research on shared bikes here in Los Angeles. So great idea, right? So you can rent a bike, especially close to the beach. It's great. It's something that the residents would like to use when they go to work or when they come to the beach on the weekend or in the evenings. And it's also something that is very attractive to tourists. But what happened here in LA was that when you actually open the mobile app for this bike sharing platform, you have to put in your US driver's license and the US credit card, and you have to sign off on all sorts of waivers, and you have to wear a helmet, and there's no helmet attached to the bike. So unfortunately, it was designed for residents in mind, and I think it was also basically on a weekly basis in the beginning. So it did not make sense at all for tourists. On the other hand, a lot of things are being put in place that maybe residents would actually appreciate, but that are not necessarily designed with residents in mind. So there's a huge disconnect right now in practice in the industry between smart tourism and other smart development efforts. And I think in terms of moving forward and really making sure that smart tourism continues to play a role and maybe even plays a bigger role, we are proposing in our paper that we need to merge these two notions. And in the industry as well as in academia, we really need to think about how to connect these activities. So let's remind ourselves of the definition of smart tourism. And so in the electronic markets paper, we proposed the definition, and I think it still holds true. When we started writing this, it was 2013. When it was published, it was 2015. But I think that's still what smart tourism is about. And if you look at this definition, it really focuses on integrated efforts at a destination, a place, to collect and aggregate and harness data. And that data comes from different sources. And that data then is transformed or processed using technology into different value propositions. But really, the focus of smart tourism from the very start has been on data. And so in my talk today, I would like to encourage you to help me maybe push that agenda forward a little bit and think more about the role of data specifically in smart tourism. So data is really what feeds into the components of smart tourism, whether that is the smart destination, the governance, the smart businesses, the industry, as well as the smart experiences. And so smart tourism thinks about data and how to collect it, how to process it, and how to transform it to really enable changes in these components. And if you look at that figure in the left, and we actually used the case of Smart Seoul to come up with this diagram, the arrows you see in that diagram really represent data moving through the different layers of the smart tourism system. So we have the physical layer and the technological layer being connected, and by doing that, we produce data. And then that data is processed, is stored, is shared. It feeds into the governance layer, it feeds into the business layer, and it ultimately creates these smart experiences that are so important for smart tourism. Now, from that experience layer, we also derive a lot of data, right? And so then these digital traces become data again in the system and feed back into the data layer of smart tourism. Now, here is also where I think the biggest connection is to artificial intelligence. And so in smart tourism, we need AI. We need AI for data management. We need AI for data processing and analysis. We also need AI to transform that data into information, right? To structure the data in a way, to visualize the data so that these human actors and business actors in a smart tourism system can take advantage of the data. AI is also there to maybe facilitate the interaction with data and to facilitate interactions that produce data. So if you think about ChatGPT, and kind of the way it offers data to people who interact with it, but then also how it uses data to learn and to personalize. And so AI really provides a huge opportunity in smart tourism to reach the next level of governance, business innovation, as well as experience enrichment. And it really is a symbiosis. And so AI is very data hungry and very much able to deal with a lot of data, and smart tourism produces a lot of data and has the problem of data overload, where a lot of data right now just sits somewhere because it's not being used. So I think moving forward with smart tourism, we have to acknowledge that we can only do this with the help of artificial intelligence. But what I'm also proposing today is that we need to think about the value of data, and to really truly realize the potential of smart tourism, we need to think about data as an asset. And that has implications. Unfortunately, right now, in a lot of smart tourism initiatives and projects, data is seen as an asset in the way that you would think about something that you want to keep for yourself. So there's a lot of issues in terms of data ownership. Data hoarding, so there's not a lot of sharing, and then also the creation of data silos, where data still sits in very particular places and doesn't really move across the smart tourism ecosystem. So my big concern is that we cannot realize smart tourism without really changing the way we think about data and the way we actually value data. Now, data also means cost. Data is not free. We tend to forget that because we use Google. We have the servers sitting somewhere in Iceland. We don't necessarily think about the cost of data. Now, for a sustainable, responsible smart tourism ecosystem, we need to think about the cost and what we can do to share that cost, distribute that cost, but maybe also reduce the cost. So cost is not only just acquiring the data or the generation of the data, putting in the sensors that will generate the data, but there's also a cost attached to the storage. We still need physical space for servers, right? We have servers farms. There's also a lot of energy involved in maintaining storage. Cost of maintenance is not just the storage cost, but then also the making sure that that data is secure, that someone actually does accounting of that data, and then ultimately, there's also opportunity cost of not using that data that we usually do not consider. So in a lot of smart tourism systems now, we collect a lot of data, but we don't do anything with it. And I think for smart tourism to move forward, we have to think about opportunity cost as well as these hidden costs of data generation, storage, and maintenance. So thinking about the value of data also means that we need to think about the risk. And so there's the risk of data loss. There's a lot of risk related to privacy and data breaches. There is not a single day where we don't hear about some hacking attack and data breach, security alarm that goes off. So data privacy is a huge risk. Data can also become obsolete. We never talk about that. And so data has a particular shelf life. And so we have to think about data getting old and this risk of data being outdated and making decisions based on data that is no longer valuable. And so I think especially the pandemic taught us that maybe data we used to have in the past is not as relevant when we have these very particular events that change everything. But data is also power. And so whoever has access to data, we also run the risk of giving them power that they might abuse. So we have to think about that as well. So data is responsibility, and especially in combination with AI, some of that responsibility gets offloaded to the algorithm. And unfortunately, companies have not been very good with kind of controlling the algorithms. The algorithms, you know, they evolve. They become their own kind of system, right? And so whether companies actually do this on purpose or just forget to think about the consequences of the algorithms, we have to make sure that in smart tourism, we think about data as responsibility. Now, I would like to propose here that we need to take some lessons from infonomics. So really this notion that we need to put economic value on data as kind of like the starting point, which means that we need to measure, we need to manage, and we need to monetize. So we need to think about the quality and the value of the data. We need to think about who manages the data, what barriers there might exist to accessing the data. And then the monetization is really, you know, how do we justify having this data and incurring the cost of it? So people in this data valuation corner or a stream of research have thought about this a lot. And so I haven't seen a lot of discussion in tourism about data valuation, and I would like to bring that in, and I would like to encourage you to help me kind of think about this more and promote this more. But there's basically three frameworks that have been proposed. The 3V framework that basically says the more valuable data sets are those that are larger, faster, and more diverse. Then there's the information value framework, and that one basically says that the data sets that are more valuable are those that are more accurate, more relevant, and also more timely, right? So we're talking about shelf life here. And then the infonomics framework that really says data sets that generate more revenue, that reduce cost, or that help us make better decisions are more valuable. And in terms of methods of data valuation, there's basically a cost-based valuation. And so we evaluate data, the value of data based on the cost of collecting, storing, and maintaining it. There's a market-based valuation where we say, well, how much would we get if we sold that data set in the marketplace? And then there's the income-based valuation. What income is this generating? What advantages is this data generating for us? So my big conclusion, my big point today is that I think we need a smart tourism data valuation framework. And I have started to think about this, but I'm counting on your help with this. I'm seeing this as kind of like an initial opportunity that I would like you to take advantage of is really to think about what tourism data value means and how we can actually establish it and measure it in a smart tourism context. So from my perspective, the more valuable data sets in smart tourism are the ones that contribute the most to the realization of responsible smart tourism goals. So I'm proposing here an outcome-based valuation. I'm also proposing that the data value increases with sharing in a smart tourism system. So there really should be a lot of value placed on open data. There is also this notion in smart tourism that the data value increases through the combination of diverse data sets, right? And in this context, we have to think about data compatibility and how we realize that in a smart tourism context. But then we also think about the data costs and risks, and we need to make those explicit. Right now, they're very hidden in smart tourism, and we need to develop strategies that we can put in place to reduce costs and risks. So what we really need in smart tourism is a comprehensive data ethics. And then last but not least, I really think we need to think about in terms of data ecosystems. And so we need shared responsibility within these smart tourism data ecosystems for generating, for managing, maintaining, as well as for using and transforming smart tourism data. So this is it from me today. I would like to again thank you all for the opportunity. I hope I gave you some ideas, and congratulations to you all for putting on this first World Summit on Smart Tourism. And I'm convinced that you will hear a lot of interesting discussions and presentations today. So thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, Uli Gretzel, Professor, deeply, highly appreciation your attendance and presentation. Before we starting forward, okay, uli 끝났어요? 나갔어요? 우리한테 질문할 수 없어요. Okay, Uli, are there?
Yes, I'm still
Okay,
here.
I have 3 questions, very important 3 questions for you.
Oh,
Are you ready?
yes.
Okay, first one.
My video, here we go.
Okay, 2012, I was moved to College of Hotel and Tourism, Kyunghee University. 2013, I suggest and offer to you Smart Tourism project. But I was nobody that time. But how was your feeling you accept my request? How was your impression? That's the first question. Second question, 2013, actually, the starting point, you and me. Now 2023, right? Or 10 years passed. So there must be absolutely updated smart tourism. So what is your updated version of smart tourism since we are 10 years experience? Third question. Okay, this is the first World Conference on Smart Tourism. We are really should go forward to the future. What is your valuable advice and comment for our conference from now on? Direction, inspiring advice. 3 questions.
All right. So the first question is how did it all start, and why was I willing to take the risk of working on a new idea that really no one had explored? I had already learned a lot about Korea and the Korean tourism industry, as well as Korean academics at that point. And for me, Korea is always at the forefront of technology development. And so I felt very honored that you introduced me to this idea. And I had heard of smart development in other contexts, but I thought it was really innovative and really amazing to apply it to tourism. And I believe that we could work together as a team, because you had the Korean perspective and I had the North American perspective, where in North America there wasn't much happening in that area yet. And so for me, it was just a fantastic opportunity. And I'm very grateful that you introduced me to it and invited me to partner on it. So the second question is, what's the update, right? Or how have we developed? And I regularly give presentations, and I always question, did we get it right in the beginning, or do we have to maybe add something? Do we have to change the way we think about smart tourism? And every time I do a presentation, I come to the conclusion that the fundamentals of smart tourism are still the same. And so the fundamental ideas, I think, are so profound and are so broad in a way that they still, even 10 years later, have a lot of relevance. Now, the technology is changing, clearly. We have opportunities now in terms of the metaverse, in terms of artificial intelligence, that we need to integrate. But the framework is so flexible that it's no problem at all to do that. Now to the future. Where do I see this all heading? And so I think we've, as much as we have been pushing this agenda and kind of already talked about the future 10 years ago, the industry is still not even close to being there. And but also, especially some of the technologically, it's not a problem, but I think in terms of innovation, in terms of governance, in terms of data, there's a lot of room for improvement. So my hope is that there will be more industry uptake of some of the ideas that we've been describing and talking about. And I think the Smart Tourism Center and this World Smart Tourism Summit today are great opportunities to maybe share these ideas a little more widely, and maybe also start a conversation with some of the people who are implementing smart tourism policy and smart tourism business decisions in the industry. So I think there will be another fantastic, exciting 10 years for sure of smart tourism research. And so I want to say it's just the beginning.
Wow. So we have a lot of homework ahead of us, right? Okay,
yes.
Year, 50. We're 50. We are heading to the 100, so 50 years to go smart tourism version number 2, smart tourism 3.0, 4.0. Okay? Anyway, I'm going to take one question from floor, if you have, please. Okay, this is a Korean community. We are humble, always. Okay, Uli, I'm so happy to see you through the online, and this is an experimental design for the world, conference. Dean Chung, Chung Nam-ho, he supported us financially, psychologically, mentally. He is an energetic leader of our college and Kyunghee University. Say hello to him.
I know that there is Namho, but there's also a lot of other people who are supporting the center and who are supporting the journal. And I would like to also say that I would like to encourage the participants today, but also those who might be watching later, if there are ideas that you find interesting, to maybe develop them into papers that can be published in the Journal of Smart Tourism. And so I would love to see some of the presentations, these ideas, the discussions summarized also as papers for the journal, because I think there will be a lot of knowledge exchange and a lot of things that I think will be important to share widely with the broader community. And so hopefully some of you will take advantage of this open call for papers.
Okay, thank you very much, Ulrike. Big applause.
Thank you.
And have a nice evening and good night.
Good
Los
night,
Angeles.
everyone.
Bye. Okay, continue.